The Massōrah. All the oldest and best manuscripts of the Hebrew Bible contain on every page, beside the text, which is arranged in two or more columns, a varying number of lines of smaller writing distributed between the upper and lower margins. This smaller writing is called the Massōrah Magna or Great Massōrah, while that in the side margins and between the columns is called Massōrah Parva or Small Massōrah. The illustration given on page 32 is a reduced facsimile of a Hebrew manuscript, 16 1/4 inches by 12 3/8, written in a German hand about the year AD 1120. I'll actually show that. It's on the next page, right here. Reduced facsimile of a manuscript in the British Museum Library, that is. Year AD 1120. The small writing in the margins on this particular manuscript is seen to occupy 7 lines in the lower margin and 4 lines in the upper, while in the outer margins and between the 3 columns is the Massōrah Parva. The word Massōrah is from the root Massar, to deliver something into the hand of another, so as to commit it to his trust. Hence the name is given to the small writing referred to, because it contains information necessary to those into whose trust the sacred text was committed, so that they might transcribe it and hand it down correctly. The text itself has been fixed before the Masoretes were put in charge of it. This had been the work of the Sopharim, the Saphar, to count or number. Their work under Ezra and Nehemiah was to set the text in order after the return from Babylon, and we read of it in Nehemiah 8:8. Compare Ezra 7:6 and 11. The men of the great synagogue completed the work. This work lasted about 110 years, from Nehemiah to Simon the First, 410 to 300 BC. The Sopharim were the authorized revisers of the sacred text, and their work being completed, the Masoretes were authorized custodians of it. Their work was to preserve it. The Massōrah is called a fence to the scriptures because it locked all words and letters in their places. It does not contain notes or comments as such, but facts and phenomena. It records the number of times the several letters occur in the various books of the Bible, the number of words and the middle word, the number of verses and the middle verse, the number of expressions and combinations of words, etc. All this not from a perverted ingenuity, but for the set purpose of safeguarding the sacred text and preventing the loss of or misplacement of a single letter or word. This Massōrah is not contained in the margins of any one manuscript. No manuscript contains the whole or even the same part. It is spread over many manuscripts, and Dr. C.D. Ginsburg has been the first and only scholar who has set himself to collect and collate the whole, copying it from every available manuscript in the libraries of many countries. He has published it in 3 large folio volumes, and only a small number of copies has been printed. These are obtainable only by the original subscribers. When the Hebrew text was printed, only the large type in the columns was regarded, and the small type of the Massōrah was left unheeded in the manuscript from which the text was taken. When the translators came to the printed Hebrew text, they were necessarily destitute of the information contained in the Massōrah, so that the revisers as well as the translators of the authorized version carried out their work without any idea of the treasures contained in the Massōrah, and therefore without giving a hint of it to their readers. This was the first time that an edition of the AV has been given containing any of these treasures of the Massōrah that affect so seriously the understanding of the text. A vast number of Masoretic notes concern only the orthography and matters that pertain to the concordance, but many of those which affect the sense or throw any additional light on the sacred text are noted in the margin of the Companion Bible. Some of the important lists of words which are contained in the Massōrah are also given, namely those that have the extraordinary points, Appendix 31, the 18 emendations of the Sopharim, see Appendix 33, the 134 passages where they substituted Adonai for Jehovah, see Appendix 32, and the various readings called Severin, see Appendix 34. These are given in separate appendixes, but other words of any importance are preserved in our marginal notes. Readers of the Companion Bible are put in possession of information denied to former generations of translators, commentators, critics, and general Bible students. For further information on the Massōrah, see Dr. Ginsburg's Introduction to the Hebrew Bible, of which only a limited edition was printed. Also, a small pamphlet on the Massōrah published by the King's Printers. The footnote 1 there says, the Talmud explains that the book meant the original text distinctly means explaining it by giving the Chaldee paraphrase, gave the sense, means the division of words, etc., according to the sense, and cause them to understand the reading, means to give the traditional pronunciation of the words, which were then without vowel points.